and his wife close friends. Combs also showed up there later that night, Ventura said. Sean Combs texted Cassie Ventura after he assaulted her in a hotel hallway back in March of 2016, demanding she return to the hotel where they just had a freak off, according to evidence presented at the trial just now. Combs told Ventura that police were coming to the hotel and she needed to return, but police had not actually been called. I have a premiere Monday for the biggest thing I've ever done in my life, Ventura texted Combs, referring to an event for her starring role in a film. I have a black eye and a fat lip. You are sick to think it's okay to do what you've done, she added. Prosecutors showed an image of Cassie Ventura and Sean Combs at an after party following her 2016 movie premiere, which took place a couple of days after her beating in the hallways of the
2 days later.
Intercontinental Hotel in Los Angeles. It shows Ventura in a sparkly green v-neck dress. She is seated with her arm threaded through Combs, who is wearing a three-piece suit. In his other hand, he holds a drink. The government pointed out some apparent bruising from the hotel incident visible on Ventura's right shin. Ventura testified that she had a larger bruise on her thigh concealed under her dress. Just yesterday in court, Cassie
Yeah, we didn't
Ventura
see
was
that.
shown
We didn't get that
photos
via
of
the
men
text.
alleged to have participated in freak-offs and asked to identify them by name and to testify about how and where they were hired and in what cities they participated in the sex sessions. Now Ventura is being asked to do this again. The escorts are a racially diverse group of men, some of whom Ventura only remembered vaguely. She was unsure of some names. There were at least 6 men shown. Ventura said it was her job to hire these men, that it was expected of her by Sean Combs. Ventura said that she performed sex acts with all the men shown and that those who were paid with Sean's money. So I just want to rehash one of the, I think, biggest moments that have.
Okay. Let's go back to this real quick. We'll kind of we're jumping all around here, just try to get the most up to date info and also anything we're missing because he's not tweeting everything. He's tweeting the important things we get here. Who was present when Sean put his hands on you at the freak offs? Cassie says sometimes the escort was there too. AUSA says in the same room. Yes, Jules. Yes, Jules. All pun intended, right? Yes, Jules was present. It was like, and in the suite, yes. Were they aware? Defense says objection. Judge says overrule. Cassie says yes. The escorts. Cassie said the escorts would ask me if I was okay afterwards. AUSA says, in what cities did he put hands on you? She says New York, LA, Miami. AUSA says how frequently? Cassie says too frequently. AUSA says, what's the Abbey? Ventura says, a gay club in LA. I went there with my friend. Okay. AUSA says, where were you going? She says, to a music festival in Canada ran by Drake. Sean came to my home and tried to attack me. I was thrown into the bed frame. What's this? A photo of my eye afterwards. Who took you to the doctor? D-Rock. Maybe Diddy beat her up because she was about to go to a Drake concert. Can't let your bitch go to a Drake concert without you now. Before Drake over here sub-dissing you talking about he fucked your bitch. You can't let your bitch go to a Drake concert. Come on now. Man, you going to Canada? Oh, hell no. Hold up. Hold up. I'll be right there. Holy. So she says she got fucked up after she was going to go to a Drake concert. Wow. Damn. I'm writing tweets as we go, too. I'm sorry, chat. they're talking about OVO Fest, by the way. It's a musical fest going to OVO Fest. All right. You know how many girls that got their ass whipped over wanting to go see Chris Brown, Usher, all those people? Your man gonna get insecure now. That's a fact. Wow. Yeah, Diddy was jealous as shit. Did we ever see Drake around Cassie? Maybe Diddy thought she was gonna go fuck that nigga. Drake, Cassie. Did they ever meet? Did Drake and Cassie ever meet? What's interesting to know, when did Drake and Diddy fight? Drake, Diddy fight. When did they fight? And when did Drake start? Let's look up some details to make this make sense. When did Drake first do OVO Fest? What year? 2010. So it was happening this whole time. So we don't know what year. What year? Can we figure out what year from the tweets? Nah. What year, chat? Let's figure out what year this was. Okay, let's figure out what year Drake and Diddy fought. Okay, here we go.
Everybody been knew Drake was soft and Diddy was insane. They was at a party once. Diddy said, Drizzy! Drake said, huh?
All right, what year? We just want to hear the year. Everything is saying 10 years ago. 10 years ago, damn near, right? Okay, here we go.
Why, that's Drake's hit song 0 to 100. And that's Diddy at a concert back in June saying it was stolen. And that is why Diddy punched Drake a couple days ago. And that is...
Okay, so this is in 2014. Look, 2014. So if he fought Drake in 2014, there was 3 OVO Fests before and then OVO Fest continuing after. Let me ask you a question. Do you think that maybe Diddy was mad that maybe this was after him and Drake fought? His girl still wanted to go to some Drake shit? Yeah, that would be kind of violation. I just put the beats on this nigga and you want to go to a show? Oh, hell no. If I gave him the beats, you can't go fuck with him no more. Me and him fought. That is kind of makes sense. Now, it doesn't make sense for him to beat her. But so I would have to imagine, unless it's that, it would be before 2014. We need some more context clues, man. We're trying to figure out when this is. D-Rock brought her to the hospital. Let's try to figure this out, chat. D-Rock brought her to the hospital. D-Rock brought Cassie hospital. Somebody, Gene Deal, where are you, bro? Put this together for us. Put this together. Okay, here we go. This is.
We heard testimony from Cassie Ventura, who, of course, is the model who stood beside him often. Oh, no agency. Well, today we heard her very clearly, but then there's a moment that she began to cry on the stand, and you and I both were watching that. She cried when they asked her the question, was there any part of these freak-offs that you enjoyed? And she said the opportunity to be with him one-on-one, talking about her affection for
Gene Deal, Cassie hospital. Fuck, I just want to. Oh wow, he said this.
She alleges that, Diddy, he'll make her look online for BBCs for their freak-off sessions. And she say that, in this lawsuit that, Diddy, he enjoyed watching her get smashed by BBCs. So, what you think about that?
Do you think she was the only one getting banged by him? Do you? Cassie wasn't the only one who wanted, or she didn't want it, but Cassie, who searched for the big black, it's a freak-off section, right? She said it's a freak-off section. If she says a freak-off section, brother, she ain't the only one freaking off. The prostitute ain't the only one freaking off. Old boy is freaking off also.
Right. So you think he was letting these guys use their BBCs on him?
I think that, and me just being
This was a year ago. He
a
said,
trained investigator and reading through the lines of certain things. And one time I had read something that Cassie couldn't take it no more. She told her friend, and this was she was under a non-disclosure and everything like that. She told her friend she couldn't take it no more because she had seen this dude do something. I've heard plenty of stories about him being on a yacht. That same yacht that Kim was on, and the same yacht she got her nose broken on, that somebody was doing something to him when they walked in the room, and it caused a confrontation. This is what somebody who was on the yacht said to me. You understand? They was telling that story to somebody. And it was a female. But my whole thing about it was this, is that anything in that lawsuit, you got to realize that we only got a portion of it because it's been chopped up. But it was freak off day.
Right. And when I look at this,
Cassie may have seen some stuff that she ain't really want to look at. How does she say how the person look? All she could describe is if they was wearing masks, unless she saw them before they.
By the way, chat, we did find Blind Dragon. Apparently, Blind Dragon LA. There's an Instagram for this. It says a modern risque speakeasy, a hidden joint, a blind spot where anything goes, a lounge karaoke. So it looked like it was a place people could get their rocks off. It was a speakeasy. Wow. So this was some freak shit. Speakeasy. I'm wondering why we see. Any pictures that you guys recognize, Chad? 2019. By the way, this place has been closed down from what I heard. So it looked like there's kind of like a club, but also like this really private thing where you could do some other shit. Who's this? The DJ Snake? Is this DMX? Okay. Let's keep going back. Looked like there was a party. It's like a party or a club or something. But looked like they had this other side that you could really, like, clearly some of these people like right here, they might have alternative lifestyles. So this is where people could come in and feel. No, Alex said, I know a speakeasy isn't anything like, it doesn't have to be in freaky, but clearly this was a place that, like they might have the front as a bar or like a club, but probably they had like this other section, kind of like the Diddy parties. They have the Diddy parties where everybody go in, there's all the celebrities, and then you go in the back. Oh, Chance the Rapper? You go in the back and there's a whole nother game going on in there. I'm trying to just scroll down. Let's see if we can find anything. I ain't gonna lie. We're seeing the people, the usual suspects are popping up, chat. Isn't this the usual suspects are popping up. Let's just keep it like that. The usual, you know? Let's keep going. Got to do some research here, chat. What year are we at now? We're at 2017. Probably got to go back a little bit further. Let's keep going back. Let's keep going back. Let's keep going back. I don't know if I'm going to find nothing, but let's keep going back. Looked like they also held like private parties as well. Looked like it was like this discreet place though, you know? Okay, I can't. Yeah, these pictures are getting more and more stock. Remember, she was supposed to go there for her 29th birthday. And that's when the beatdown happened. Yo, somebody said that was like a safe house for the diddler. Yo, y'all are crazy. If we look on Yelp, Blind Dragon LA, apparently it's closed. That's all we don't know if is it closed down or is it closed right now when it's open? I don't know. Says closed. Interesting. Blind Dragon closed. Okay. All right. So she was going to go to OVO Fest. Diddy came to her house, attacked her. She was thrown to the bed frame. She shows a picture of her eye. AUSA says, "Did you send this photo to Sean?" She says, "Yes." And I wrote, "So you can remember." I wanted him to be sorry about it, Lee. So I guess she sent the picture to him to say, "Yo, listen, look what you did to me." AUSA says, "In this photo, where were you?" She says, "I was in the green room in Toronto." Oh, she went there. Yeah. She still went to the 6. Yeah, this got to be before Diddy tried to beat the shit out of Drake. Yeah, nigga, why you partying with my bitch, nigga? Oh, yeah, she definitely went to Toronto. Okay. She said, yo, he beat her ass and she still went to Toronto. Oh, my God. She was running through the 6 with the woes. Let me see. Chat, can we find Cassie at OVO Fest? We need to find some pictures. Can we find picture of Cassie at OVO Fest, chat? OVO Fest. It got to be. I'm thinking between 2010 to 2014 because Drake and Diddy fight in 2014. 5 Ways. Oh, Vibe magazine. 2013. Look at this picture. We kind of got it, chat. Look, last night the internet was buzzing with the rumor that Drake had signed Diddy's boo to his October's very own imprint. Nicole Bitch reported that a media-based newsletter, blah, 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 blah. Cassie, blah, 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 blah. Let's get to it. She supposedly signed, so this was a rumor. The chatter is simply internet buzz. Cassie's teaming up with Drake. Doesn't sound like a bad idea. When was this picture taken? Chad? Oh, Drake was trying to take that nigga bitch. Yeah, I knew that nigga socked Drake out it wasn't over no goddamn beat. Like, the beat was probably the last straw, but that nigga Drake tried his bitch, bro. He tried to pull the same play. Not that Drake do some Diddy shit, but he tried to pull the same play on Cassie that Diddy pulled on Cassie. Yo, I'll sign you. Yeah. Diddy was probably like, when I see that light-skinned nigga, I'm socking that nigga out on Paru. On the dead homies, when I see that light-skinned nigga, I'm socking him out, bro. Yo. Yeah. Yo, Drake, man. Yo, Drake. Aubrey. Stop it, bro. Stop it. Yo, Drake tried to sign that. You know Drake was trying to fuck her. You know Drake was. Now you got me. See, now I'm in my bag. I got to go back to 4 p.m. in Calabasas, the lyrics. 4 p.m. in Calabasas. Because we've never heard about this part of the beef. Cassie's now came out and told us she got her ass whipped because she was going to OVO Fest. Somehow she got the ass whipping and still went. She was still in the 6. By the way, this was, I believe, 2015. Was it 2015? When did 4 p.m. in Calabasas drop, chat? When did 4 p.m. in Calabasas drop? That was 2016, actually. It's 2016. Bet. Let's get to some of the lyrics. Read the lyrics, bro. Come on. All you self-promoters is janky. Oh, come on. Stop with the fucking ad, bro. We established at the Yankees, we moving Milton, but you the one tanking. No limit to where I could take it. And you know me as a Chris bottle sender, check picker-upper. I thought we looked out for one another. Saw us all as brothers in a struggle, too blessed to be humble. I guess it's different in the city I come from. All of a sudden, I got people showing how they truly resent me. Their whole demeanor just spells envy. They trying to tempt me. The higher I get, the less they accept me. Even the OGs trying to press me. Ha, 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 ha. No way out. All alluding to Diddy. Because I'm already in it. I'm not attending when I do a show and get a ticket. Good business. Can clean millions. I got divisions. I've been had hits since no scrubs and no pigeons. Even back when I wasn't popping. When they told me to take an R&B on the road and I told them I drew for Kendrick and Rocky. Snakes. I try to make the right choices with the world watching. Mike never tried to rap like Pac. Pac never tried to sing like Mike. Those my dad's words to me when I asked him how to make it in life. And I always said my mother gave the greatest advice. Look at me now. They look at me as the golden child. Can't nobody hold me down. Certain shit is just too wild to reconcile. Take that. No love in my heart, so they fake that. DiCaprio level, the way they play that. Damn, nigga, what is that? Y'all don't hear no songs that hit my phone like you did that. Then even hit my line where you been at is always on some shit like, oh, okay, he's talking about Diddy here. Oh, bingo, where my bitch at? Got him. Drake, you motherfucker. Drake, you motherfucker, man. Drake, I see why these niggas at the 20V you. He says, they don't hit my phone like you did that. They even hit my phone, or they even hit my phone like, or even hit my phone like you been, where you been at. It's always on some shit like, can I get a favor? Could you write a song for me? Which, 0 to 100. Or where's my bitch at? She's in the 6 getting piped at the embassy, nigga. Oh, nah. Oh, nah. Nah, this is crazy. Nah, Drake is a real sniper still. He said niggas hitting him on some, yo, can I get a favor or where my bitch at? Like I'm about to tell you where she been at. Oh, yo, that's it. This is why I say Drake's the GOAT. You know when Diddy heard that and he heard that, you heard the beat. Everybody heard the beat. You know it's all about Diddy. And we're trying to get why. Like, what the fuck going on? Niggas ask me, can I get a favor where my bitch at? Like I'm about to tell you where she been at. I guarantee Cassie done told that nigga, yo, you know I got an ass whooping to come up here, right? You know I got an ass whooping to make it to the 6, yo. Coastal career is I got her kidnapped. Ooh. Yo, he's trolling Diddy. He's trolling Diddy. She ain't sorry and I ain't sorry. It's too late for sorry. Green, white, and red on my body because I'm dipped in Ferrari. All she want to do is get high and listen to party. Oh, nah, Drake. Yo, Drake lucky he ain't get shot. These are some shit you gotta shoot a nigga for. Fuck that. Fuck that. I ain't gonna lie to you. This shit would have turned me into a tenderoni, nigga. I'm sorry, nigga. What? Yo, he's giving Diddy them jabs. Bang, bang. He says, when niggas hit me like when I can get a favor or where my bitch at, like I'm about to tell you where she been at. Coastal careers, I got her kidnapped. Ooh, telling Diddy like he got the bitch kidnapped. She ain't sorry and I ain't sorry. It's too late for sorry. Green, white, and red on my body because I'm dipped in Ferrari. All she want to do is get high and listen to party. She complained. I tell the driver to drop her off at Barney's. Oh my God. My summer diet just rose in calamari. Look, now you got me. Yo, my nigga, I'm sorry. This is the greatest rapper of all time. Jay-Z close number 2. But this is the greatest rapper of all time. Of all time. Ain't no cap in his raps. He rapping about real shit. This ain't the greatest? All right, fuck y'all niggas then. Y'all cook up. It's a I got a lot to lose because in every situation, I'm the bigger artist. Always got to play smarter. Y'all shook up. I'm here on the cook up. Cameras pointing at. Hold on. Wait, hold on. It says, wait. Yeah, y'all shook up. I'm here on the cook up. Cameras pointing every time I look up. That's why I got to duck behind Chuck's shoulder just to hit the cush up. Sponsorship dollars is sky high. He be like, Drake, will you please stop smoking la la? I'm like, Chubbs, why try? I'm a thug. I'm a daha. Got rose pink tinted lenses. It's a Wednesday. Architect taking dimensions. They redoing the entrance. Kind of like when you niggas drop on some again and again shit and you still never quite get it. Meantime, Drizzy over here trying to make you dance to this. Yeah, I could make you dance to this. I roll big body, wide body, Calabasas road winder, sunshine and wax tires. See Chris Jenner, I beep twice and I wave. The rest of you boys, I blow what? Right in your face. Pause. Pistol by my bed, I'm asleep, but I'm awake. Damn, man. Don't push me because I'm way too uneasy right now. These guys move so greasy nowadays. I'll tell you my life, and you don't got to believe when I say it. Save my stories for down the line. I'm just too ahead of the curve every time. Just told the hits, and you see what you find. You SWV, because you weak, and I'm always on your mind. Holy shit. Then he says, yeah, and we can't stop. Make you dance to this. I'ma make you one dance to this. Ha. Nah, he fucked Diddy, bitch. Oh my God. Yo, Drake, I love you. Well, you deserve a leg odds for this. This is devious. Leg odds. Nah, Drake, I love you, but one little leg odds. Pop. Like, hold up, man. Hold up. This is leg odds right here. Chat. Drake to go. You know, of course, I'm going to turn the Diddy case into about Drake, right? No, I'm playing. Okay, let's get back. So, cool. In the green room in Toronto, I put hair over my eyes. Then we went to Hamptons. So I guess she comes back. She goes to the Hamptons. Diddy wanted to have a freak off in the Hamptons. We got a hotel and an escort. Which one? He said, Dave, I took GHB. And I went into a G-hole. What's that, chat? I think that's the effect of doing that drug. And I blacked out. I woke up nude in the shower. Dave and Sean were freaking out. I bugged out. It wasn't pretty. Then what? I spoke to a friend of Sean's, and then we had a freak off. Huh? What's this? My eyebrow. Healed up a bit. A week later, I have a permanent scar on my eyebrow. What's this? Me at the Cannes Festival. I think that's in France. What happened at Cannes? Sean accused me of taking drugs from his boat. He threw me off, but my passport was still on the boat. And you were on the red carpet the same night? Yes. Did you attend the movie? Yes. How'd you get back to New York? I got back on a commercial flight. I traded my seat to get away, but he traded to get next to me. Oh, so I guess she said she was trying to not sit next to him, but he was trying to make sure he sat next to her. What did he show you? Freak off videos. He played them from one of his laptops. He said he'd release them. So that's showing Diddy was threatening her ass. Oh my God. How did you feel? Trapped. When you landed in New York, what did you do? We went to a dinner. Then he wanted to have a freak off. Okay, so Diddy was doing this like every other day, chat. It wasn't even weekly. Every other day. Like Diddy was doing this. Like it didn't seem like Diddy wanted to have regular sex with her. He wanted to do freak offs pretty much every other day or maybe every third day. So she was probably doing 2 to 3 freak offs a week. Wow. When you land in New York, what do? We went to a dinner. Then he wanted to have a freak off, so we had a freak off. Why did you do it? To make him not threaten me. Let's read from June 2013. Had Sean been violent with you before this? Yes. Had you told him before you didn't want to do freak offs? Yes. You said you needed GHB. Yes. And I told him that 2 escorts weren't available. I wrote, only Paul available. Or Jake the white guy, but he can't do until 11. The other guy can do earlier. It's just one more person knowing our secret. What did you mean? The freak offs, that's the secret. AUSA says, what's the SLS? A hotel in Hollywood. Oh, man. Holy shit. Yo, what's the dirt? I know you don't cover gossip shit like this, but we need to find out the exact breakdown from Drake punching dick up in Cassie's stomach to Diddy beating her ass, how that mixes in, and y'all got to rewrite that story, because I don't think that Drake only got socked out. Well, he didn't get socked out. From what I heard, Diddy swung at him. I don't know if he hit him. Supposedly he hit him like in the chest or his shoulder, and then security grabbed both people and they dislocated Drake's shoulder. That's what I've always heard. That's the rumor. But I got to believe if he stepped to Drake like that, he probably thought Drake was playing him all this time. Because think about this. When Drake previewed the song and dropped it via SoundCloud 0 to 100, I'm still saying, damn, you could get another song from Drake. He probably thought Drake was playing him. Remember him explaining this? And by the way, we're still trying to figure out what year. This does say 2013, though. And by the way, in court, we're talking about something in 2013. So it's possible it was 2013. Drake was trying to slide up under Cassie. Cassie tells Sean, because you got to imagine, she at this point is frustrated, like, yo, my career ain't going nowhere with you. I'm only training for freak offs on off days and doing freak offs 2 to 3 times a day or a week. Drake, and this is, yo, for all y'all beautiful ladies in the industry, I want y'all to take Nicki Minaj's approach. And that's what I've heard about her approach. I don't know her personally, but I do give her tremendous respect for this. When you see a powerful rapper or executive invites you out and you're a beautiful young woman, 75% of the time, they just want to fuck you. I heard Nicki was always a bitch to people because she wouldn't put herself in situations where, they'll leverage it like, oh, I'll sign you, but I'm just trying to see if you cool. They're trying to see if you're going to fuck. Yo, nah, we going to do the song, but just chill with me. Like, nah, we going to get it done. Like, yo, we out here for 4 or 5 days. They're trying to fuck. There's a lot of these chicks that get ran through. They don't get the song that's promised. They don't get the contract. Or if they do get a bullshit contract, it don't go nowhere. They're back doing OnlyFans. I'm telling you, for y'all females who really value y'all art, this game is dominated by men. And as soon as you're the chick that niggas talk, oh yeah, so-and-so fucked her, so-and-so fucked her. Niggas start looking at you not as talented. They start looking at you as a pass around. It really does happen. So if you one of them women who coming into the game, you serious about your art, take the Nicki Minaj approach. Maybe you don't got to be like a bitch, like how some people accuse her of being. And I think that was just her standing her ground. But please, don't just open your legs left, right, and center and fuck all these guys, because they all don't believe in you. Think about Cassie. Like with all due respect, Drake my man's too, but like, you think Drake was like about to like put her on OVO? Yo, Drake come on. You think Drake was gonna push her on OVO even if he did something? Come on, hell nah. Like, niggas probably just realized this is a little nympho, but she's desperate to get a career or the backing of somebody lit, and she was probably going everywhere, and she was so used to being freaked out. Yeah. So again, that's my little warning to any of y'all female artists who take y'all art serious. Now, if y'all want to come in the game and y'all just want to become concubines of these guys, you know what I mean? Shit, we've seen, Diddy did this already, or recently. Like, let's not even call that person name. You know, all of a sudden, they were promoting music, now they promote other shit. They ain't promoting music no more. These rappers know how to suck the talent, or not talent, but suck the career out of you. And a lot of time they're entertaining y'all just for y'all looks. They're trying to fuck it. They're trying to fuck y'all. That's it. You know? Don't be the industry. I'm not saying don't date in the industry. Do what you want. But don't be the industry pass around while you're chasing a career. You become an established artist and want to date another artist, cool. But thinking you're going to, put yourself in places or positions that you got to fuck for A, B, and C, word gets around and everybody, because all these niggas got a label. All these niggas could give you a feature. Anyway. All right. So it looked like this might have been 2013. Okay. Looked like we had 2013. Let's go back to what Diddy actually said about, he said, he explained the fight with Diddy, Diddy Drake fight explained interview. It was a Breakfast Club interview, I believe, where Diddy kind of explained why him and, okay, let's watch this.
Akademiks, Charlemagne, and that's Ride a Motorcycle.
Man, I love her.
That's actually got more Billboard slaps than the Beatles.
Did
Drake just grabbed Diddy's mic? Seriously, did he?
You gotta hand it to Drake. He snatched that mic so quickly, Diddy didn't even notice it was gone. Some people have suggested that this incident was actually the spark that led to a much bigger beef around the beat for the song 0 to 100. The melody for this beat was originally put together by instrumentalist and producer Frank Dukes. At this point, Frank had produced some hits for some legendary artists and albums, including Eminem's Marshall Mathers LP2 that went on to win a Grammy, Ghostface Killer's Apollo Kids, and also some not so good albums. Frank actually knew Drake and Boy Wonder from way back, having produced the predictably emotional Instagram post a couple of days later. There was a lot of speculation in the aftermath, but ultimately there was no retaliation from Drake, although a couple of months French Montana at the base, which is unusual. For his birthday, Khaled received a birthday cake which was enormous and featured a picture of French Montana at the base, which is unusual because usually French Montana is only seen at DJ Khaled's base when he is deep-throating him in exchange. As he's seen, a massive melee broke out and Drake actually got his shoulder dislocated and had to go to hospital that night. There were rumors going around that this fight was actually all over Diddy's girlfriend at the time, Cassie.
Rumor confirmed, right? Rumor fucking confirmed. Rumor fucking confirmed, if you ask me. Yeah, this is the better story. Ain't no good story. Y'all fighting over a beat. What the hell? Fuck. Now, granted, Diddy did go on stage and say, man, this motherfucker stole my beat. Y'all remember that? You know what I'm saying? Like, this motherfucker stole my beat, but fuck it, man. All right. I think this is it.
Production.
I'm gonna play this next beat, but I want somebody to get this shit on tape. I'm gonna play this next beat. I gave this shit to this nigga stole this shit from me, but at the end of the day, shit is still hard. Play that shit.
Diddy and Drake don't cross paths. All over Diddy's girlfriend at the time, Cassie, and Drake flirting with her at the club, but this was later disproven as a rumor that was started by the comedian Lil Duval.
So, nah, Duval was right. So we need to go talk to Duval. How do you hear that? Yeah, that was over Cassie, bro.
LA broke out, and Drake actually got his shoulder dislocated.
Chat, I'm trying to get back to Cassie. We're waiting on tweets, bro. Like, again, we can't get tweets faster. Look. Okay, we have two tweets. So you got to remember, like, we're waiting about 2 to 3 minutes in between each tweet. That's why I'm playing other videos. You get me? AUSA says, would you take Valium before a freak off? Cassie says, yes, when I had anxiety. Sean's driver was bringing me the Valium. I think his name was Raheem, I think. The judge says, jurors, you could take lunch now. So they're now taking lunch. And the judge says, Ms. Slavic, are there any disagreement with the exhibits? And Slavic says, yes, the defense wants the exhibit to be longer and about masturbation. The defense says they wanted to cut it off at looking at my iPad. So they look like they're talking about, this might be about a video. They're trying to figure out what videos could be shown, this and third. This is going to be interesting. Let me keep playing this, and then we're going to go to, they're going to be piling out of the courtroom. We want to get an update then.
And had to go to hospital that night. There were rumors going around that this fight was actually all over Diddy's girlfriend at the time, Cassie, and Drake flirting with her at the club, but this was later disproven as a rumor that was started by the comedian Lil Duval. Drake, of course, posted a predictably emotional Instagram post a couple of days later. There was a lot of speculation in the aftermath, but ultimately their emotional Instagram post a couple of days.
They're either talking shit about you or stealing the shit you're talking. Either way, your name is popping.
Later. There was a lot of speculation in the aftermath, but ultimately there was no retaliation from Drake, although a couple of months later, CEO of Rap-A-Lot Records and Dollar Store P. Diddy, Jay Prince, decided to get involved.
Perfect. Oh, we remember that. Oh, remember this courtesy call? Courtesy call, Diddy to
yeah. These niggas in awaken a sleeping giant. So let me put these bully niggas on notice by letting them know Drake is family. And the weak shit from Puffy and Suge is on my radar.
What did Suge do to Drake?
First of all, Puffy, feeling like he can put his hands on my family, open the doors for his family to be touched. you reap what you sow. And to Sugar Bear on Lil Wayne's nutsack, nigga, you know I ride with Drake. So I accept any invitation. You will not allow it to stay on my track record that Cash Money took anything from me.
Okay, interesting. We're going to go to outside the court. Remember, it's lunchtime right now. It was at the Breakfast Club.
Over the trap door. And that's just a fact.
He made you. 1050 a whole.
You deal with AT&T. And record that.
Did you and Jay Prince talk? Because he got on the record. And
yeah. You know what I'm saying? As far as songwriting and album.
Here we go.
As far as with that, definitely had and still have some asshole issues that I gotta make sure that I get over, and just the way, you know, listening to the way I speak to somebody, listening before I say it, and you know the effect that it can have on them, even though I just want the best for them.
I think you're back to that though. I think, you know, at first when you first launched and everything first came out, you was very personable. You were everywhere. You were touching the people, and then I think you moved away from that a little bit. But I see you coming back to that. I think people love that and they respect that when they actually see somebody that they look up to or a star that they can act.
Thanks. You know, it just gets to that's when you got to take a step back in a positive. We're so.
Historically, we've heard about you putting hands on people throughout the years. Like, what made you put hands on Drake?
Ooh.
I did not put hands on Drake. Oh. And I do not want any problems with Drake. Drake is, right now, that's all I got. That's all I have to say. He's putting in his work. I didn't do nothing to Drake. Drake is my friend.
That was a total rumor. What happened to the beat, the 0 to 100? They said that was your record at first. Was there any truth to that? Even there was a clip of you at the club.
Yeah. There was a 0 to 100 was initially a record that you know, was my record, and then, you know, somehow there became, you know, just a misunderstanding because we was working with the same producers. Honestly, it was a misunderstanding. Honestly, Drake is actually my favorite rapper. You know what I'm saying? As far as songwriting and albums, it's been like that for a couple of years. Meek is my boy, and you know.
All right. We're gonna kind of rotate to people are coming out of the court.
With Ventura, call me, he texted, then call now. I went and checked everything and spoke to security. As long as you don't disturb the other guests, they'll leave you be, Ventura wrote to Combs in another message. I want to repeat that again. I went and checked everything and spoke to security. As long as you don't disturb the other guests, they'll leave you be, Ventura wrote to Combs in another message. Again, a big part of today is prosecution asking Cassie once again questions about the 2016 incident. Hotel footage has no audio, and for stretches of time, Sean Combs is seen talking to Cassie Ventura. Ventura said that he was calling me out by my name, in other words, insulting her and calling her slurs, and told her that she wasn't going
Oh, my bad, sir. So apparently they're saying that, okay, this is the original video. So she dropped 2 videos. My bad, chat. I got it. My bad. They dropped 2 videos for the me and you shit. And apparently this was the original first cut, uncut version. They never use this one. They use another one that's much cleaner. And they don't even use these clips. But apparently the rumor is this is Drake's hand. But this is in 2006. Drake popped in 2009 though, right? They're claiming that this guy's hand and it's Drake behind the camera. Even 9 years ago, if you look in the comment section, it says apparently the guys whose hand and body we see in the video is Drake. This video seemed like it was shot almost like her and her guy just shooting the video. She even touches the person in the camera a bunch of times. This is not the official video. This is a video that never came out. But they keep claiming this guy is, I don't know, like, how could we find out? They claim that's his hand. I don't know. They claim this is him. No shit. Now I see why. I hope this ain't Drake. I see why Diddy would have to sock that nigga out, man. Oh nah. Oh no. Well, here's the thing though. Maybe Cassie was a little bit freaked out before though. Now this looked like it was a Kardashian tape. Maybe it was meant to be like that. Oh wow. I don't know if this really has all the truth we think to it. Yeah, it's just a light-skinned nigga. We can't really tell. Can't tell. I don't know. Anyway.
To leave him there. And again, we're not yet at the material found in the 2 drives the prosecutor has asked Cassie Ventura about. The prosecutor is asking Ventura to flesh out certain points from her testimony.
Day of testimony, which included playing more of that explosive video of Combs beating Ventura in a hotel hallway. Welcome to the Noon, Bianca.
By the way, I think also people are putting this together to say the Rich Baby Daddy video, which is Drake's song, was shot the same way with Drake behind the camera. Right?
Overtime. My neighbor Mike across the road. My wife.
Yeah, I don't know. Okay.
Peters, the sex trafficking trial of Sean Diddy Combs.
Into Cassie. So I think this is one of the biggest
Here we go.
side of a rainy day in New York City at the courthouse, where we are bringing you these updates all in real time. I'm your host, Mike Page. Always great to be with you as we continue to roll on, giving you the updates as the best that we can. We're just going through just some of the many highlights that have happened already. Just in case you are just joining us here on Live Now from Fox, again, we appreciate all our viewers continuing to be with us. So let's go back out to earlier this morning, where the government first asked Cassie Ventura to review the hotel footage from 2016, which shows Sean Combs attacking her in a hallway. This is where the government ended its questioning of Ventura yesterday. The beating marks the only time Ventura ever tried to leave a freak off early, according to her testimony just yesterday. We're not yet at the material found in 2 drives the prosecutor has asked Cassie Ventura about. The prosecutor is asking Ventura to flush out certain points from her testimony just yesterday. Asked whether she fought back when Sean Combs would physically attack her. Ventura said that she did earlier in their relationship. She said that she learned that doing so would make it worse for herself, that it would escalate the violence. Combs sometimes acted surprised and shocked that she fought back, Ventura said. Other times, this would lead to more anger and frustration. The hotel footage has no audio, and for stretches of time, Sean Combs is seen talking to Cassie Ventura. Ventura said that he was calling me out by name, in other words, insulting her and calling her slurs, and told her that she wasn't going to leave him there. The court is also being shown text exchanges between Cassie Ventura and Sean Combs from the day of the 2016 incident at the hotel in Los Angeles. In the messages, Combs is pleading with Ventura, "Call me," he texted, then said, "Call now. I went and checked everything and spoke to security. As long as you don't disturb the other guests, they'll leave you be," Ventura wrote to Combs in another message. Prosecutors showed an image of a man called Jules, who was the male escort present at the freak-off held in 2016 at the Los Angeles hotel that Cassie Ventura said she was trying to flee when Sean Combs beat her. They also showed a photo of Ventura taken after the incident. Her lip is swollen and she is wearing sunglasses with her hoodie pulled over her head. She took the photo in an Uber as she left the hotel. Cassie Ventura testified that after the incident at the hotel, Sean Combs came by her apartment banging on the door. This was normal, she said. He showed up quite a bit, Ventura didn't let him in. Later that evening, she went to the home of one of Combs' security guards, who goes by the name D-Rock. Living in LA, I really didn't have a lot of people, Ventura told the jury. She considered D-Rock and his wife close friends. Combs also showed up there later that night, Ventura said. Sean Combs texted Cassie Ventura after he assaulted her in a hotel hallway back in March of 2016, demanding she return to the hotel where they just had a freak-off, according to evidence presented at the trial just now. Combs told Ventura that police were coming to the hotel and she needed to return, but police had not actually been called. "I have a premiere Monday for the biggest thing I've ever done in my life," Ventura texted Combs, referring to an event for her starring role in a film. "I have a black eye and a fat lip. You are sick to think it's okay to do what you've done," she added. Prosecutors showed an image of Cassie Ventura and Sean Combs at an after-party following her 2016 movie premiere, which took place a couple of days after her beating in the hallways of the Intercontinental Hotel in Los Angeles. It shows Ventura in a sparkly green V-neck dress. She is seated with her arm threaded through Combs, who is wearing a three-piece suit. In his other hand, he holds a drink. The government pointed out some apparent bruising from the hotel incident visible on Ventura's right shin. Ventura testified that she had a larger bruise on her thigh concealed under her dress. Just yesterday in court, Cassie Ventura was shown photos of men alleged to have participated in freak-offs and asked to identify them by name and to testify about how and where they were hired and in what cities they participated in the sex sessions. Now Ventura is being asked to do this again. The escorts are a racially diverse group of men, some of whom Ventura only remembered vaguely. She was unsure of some names. There were at least 6 men shown. Ventura said it was her job to hire these men, that it was expected of her by Sean Combs. Ventura said that she performed sex acts with all the men shown and that those who were paid with Sean's money. So I just want to rehash one of the, I think, biggest moments that have come so far from this courtroom setting today as Cassie Ventura is back on the stand. This is when we are learning a
every hearing, and she's been there for the trial every day. She has been in the courtroom. So Elizabeth, I'm really interested to hear from you about what's been going on this morning in the courtroom. Some really compelling testimony. I've been reading online that the jurors have been seeing some photographs from Cassie Ventura's electronic devices that show maybe some bruising and some other things like that from injuries she says she suffered at the hands of Sean Combs.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's kind of a majority of what the focus was on today. We saw a lot of exhibits in front of the entire gallery, as well as the jurors, too. A lot of text messages, a lot of photographs, either photographs.
My bad, my niggas. Like, I'm eating. I was showing y'all what my food was. I said I don't eat flat, so I got like 2 chicken wings, and I got pasta with chicken. I really only eat chicken, so I eat a little bit of the pasta, then eat all the chicken. And then, yeah, that's it. I'm about to start drinking.
Pop, and Cassie is referred to as baby girl in these types of text messages. And so that was kind of a lot of focus of what this morning has been so far. Cassie is still under direct examination by the prosecution. She's being questioned by ASA Emily Johnson. You know, Diddy today appearing in a different color today. He had a cream sweater on, a white undershirt. He had gray slacks on, whereas Cassie, she had a nice, a very gray long dress on. She came in with a black trench coat. Whenever she had walked over to the witness stand, it was kind of the same situation as it was yesterday. She didn't look over to the defense's side. She didn't eyeball Diddy from what I could see of her walking up to the witness stand. It seems like she was just laser focused on getting there, sitting down. The jury would be brought in afterwards. They would sit down. She would kind of, look at their direction, definitely not looking at the defense's direction. And from what I could see, even during her line of questioning, it seemed that she was just, again, laser focused on just answering the prosecution's questions. She kept her eyes on the prosecutor, again, that being Emily Johnson, while she was asking her questions. A notable thing that I also saw while sitting inside the courtroom today is that, Diddy's support looked a lot different today. Normally we're seeing his entire family members. We're seeing some of the mothers of his children come into that courtroom. And today was a little different. Today it was just Christian Combs, aka King Combs, Justin Combs, Quincy Brown, Janice Combs, Diddy's mother. But notably, none of his daughters were inside that courtroom today. They had been there Monday and Tuesday.
That makes sense.
Not sure if maybe it was the rain that didn't bring them in today, or maybe it was the fact that they knew,
It's a freak off details day.
For a couple more days, and just kind of the graphic nature of her testimony, they were just kind of like, let's not come today. But that is some big standouts that I definitely noticed while sitting in the gallery today.
This is some really graphic and difficult testimony. And Sean Combs' daughters, I mean, these are young women, teenagers in some instances. And I mean, this has got to be difficult for them to hear. A woman, these are graphic sexual details, physical abuse.
How I watched Tory's trial. No, not Tory trial. Apparently Tory's having a press conference. Somebody sent me a link. 3 minutes, supposedly.
Difficult for them to hear. And I think I was reading the other day, Elizabeth, that they actually walked out at different points during some of the testimony.
Yeah, they walked out specifically during Daniel Phillips' testimony. He is one of the escorts that Cassie had spoken about as far as being involved in the freak-off, someone that they would use pretty often. And so during that time, especially when it came to, like you had said, Anjanette, just some of those graphic details, sometimes I really kind of get lost in just all the notes that I had because at this point I'm already on notebook 2 from this trial, and we're only on day 3. So a lot of stuff kind of going on. But yeah, for the most part, it is a lot of hard details to kind of listen to. Look, I'm older than Diddy's daughters. I am older than Cassie was when she had met Diddy. And even for me, myself, it was very hard to kind of listen to that testimony. I recorded a sidebar yesterday, and there was just a moment that I had to take myself because, just to kind of hear from her perspective and kind of, the physical abuse that she says she endured during her relationship with Diddy. Because even as somebody, like myself, who was always on social media, always following pop culture, always kind of invested in, what is going on with celebrity lives, for a long period of time, it seemed like they were this quote unquote picture perfect couple. Every time you would see them, Cassie would appear very happy. Diddy was always on her arm. They were traveling all around the world. world. They were taking private jets. They were doing, you know, just essentially living the high life. But then hearing this graphic testimony, hearing that, you know, after a red carpet premiere that she would have to go and do a freak off, hearing that, you know, on a birthday where she just wanted to hang out with her friends and do karaoke, things like that, you know, because she was in her early 20s to late 20s when this relationship was going on. And it seems like she, from her perspective, just wanted to live like any normal 20-something where, you know, she would spend time with her boyfriend. She would only be intimate with her boyfriend, but at her boyfriend's direction, which is something that she had talked about throughout the duration of her testimony, that she participated in these freak-offs because that made Diddy happy. That was something that he fantasized about. That was something that she essentially wanted to do to please him. And so, you know, just hearing through all of that, it is very hard to kind of digest that and unpack it. And as much as people may say, like, you know, I don't understand how Elizabeth can deal and listen to all of this, I don't understand how Cassie can testify to all of this because it is so graphic, and I can only imagine how she feels having to do this in a, you know, in the general public, having to talk about doing freak-offs when she had UTIs or when she was on her menstrual cycle or that type of sort. It's very, very graphic details that she is laying out while the prosecution is questioning her.
I'm sure it's just got to be traumatic for her to relive this. I'm wondering, Elizabeth, from your vantage point in the courtroom, how is the jury, if you can get a good look at them? Because I know it's sometimes in these courtrooms, you know, you're trying to look around, it's crowded, you know, you can't always see, and sometimes jurors are very stoic. But are you able to see the jurors and see if they are reacting at all? You know, is there any facial expression that you can see from them as they're listening to Cassie and as they see that awful hotel video from 2016?
Well, the hotel video, the jurors had already seen even as early as Monday, and so that was something that they were very familiar with. As far as, you know, reactions, there was no visible reactions from what I could see. I couldn't see anyone necessarily, you know, wiping away tears. For the most part, I saw, you know, some jurors were taking their notes down. Some jurors were, you know, because whenever the exhibits are shown, they're displayed on a screen right in front of them, very much intently analyzing these messages, looking at them, looking at the contents of it, because in addition to the messages that we saw, even the red carpet photos that we saw, you know, we also saw photos of Cassie with a fat lip, as she had called it. You know, it was bruised, it was swollen, as you could tell from the photograph. We saw her with a cut on her eyebrow that she had to go to a plastic surgeon at Diddy's direction so that way they could get it fixed. You know, you see photos of her with bruises on herself. You know, some of the photos that we even have in-house of Cassie and Diddy on red carpets and that sort. But as far as the jury's reaction to it, for the most part, you know, they were again looking at either the exhibits, taking their notes down, or even just directly looking at Cassie herself. I feel like her testimony comes off very compelling, very credible. You know, even for the most part, if there's a question that, you know, she doesn't necessarily have the answer to, she's very open about that. I don't remember, I don't recall, I don't remember exactly what he had said. She comes off very credible. And even Diddy himself sitting at the defense table, he's doing kind of like a tennis match look where he's looking, you know, at ASA Emily Johnson, then he's looking at Cassie, he's looking at the jurors. And, you know, as much as, you know, I talk about Diddy very much being a part of his defense, he definitely is, because he is very laser focused on the testimony that is coming out. He is very laser focused on what Cassie is saying, and if there is something that she had said, he's writing some notes down, he's handing it off to his defense attorneys. And so, yeah, it seems like for the most part, a lot of people are just
that nigga Diddy just on this on the side just right now. That bitch lying.
All has to say, and a lot of people for the most part are just being laser
I think she's coming off credible
Cassie
though.
And everything that
I agree.
she has been describing throughout the duration of their on.
Today, this is a really good performance by her, but it looked like it was probably the plan of the prosecutor to get shit out the way yesterday for a day like today to happen.
You know, 11 years. I mean, it's a long time, and she was a very young woman when she got together with him. So there's a lot to go over through her testimony. I want to get back to what you were saying about Sean Combs, and you're saying he's a really active participant in his own defense, and of course he would be. I mean, his life is on the line here. He could, if he's convicted, spend theoretically the rest of his life behind bars in a federal prison.
Bro, don't take Don't take that bet.
Back and looking at her intently.
As soon as when it's pasta and chicken, as soon as the chicken's done, I stop eating.
Match, he's kind of looking back and forth, passing
I got 2 more
notes,
pieces.
things like that. Are you seeing any emotion from him, or is it just more like, okay, we've got to get down to business, and he's just kind of intently focused on this? I mean, are you seeing anything from him at all?
It's looking kind of like a little bit of both. There are times where his head is down, especially as they're talking about things like the number of escorts that were brought in, some of these other testimony that was brought in as far as just how often and frequent it is. For the most part, I've not seen too much of a reaction, even as far as, the physical assaults that are being talked about in this testimony. I'm seeing, for the most part, again, him just kind of either he's keeping his head down because he's jotting a note down, or maybe keeping his head down because his family is behind him, and in their respect, also kind of looking, at Cassie and Cassie's direction, looking at the exhibits that are displayed into the gallery. And so for the most part, it does seem like he's not having too much of a reaction. Not sure if that's just a defense strategy that they're having, so that way it doesn't come off, possibly prejudicial or anything like that. But for the most part, he just seems to be just kind of looking on, not having any type of reaction as far as feeling bad or anything like that. But again, I'm not in his head at all, actually, so I don't know fully what he's thinking in his mind. But for the most part, it seems that if there is a point that he wants his defense to talk about or something like that, he is just jotting it down, handing it off to his defense attorney, but just for the most part sitting quietly at the defense table, but not even really looking at his family for affirmation or anything like that. He really is just very much so kind of being inside that courtroom at the defense table, focused on what the testimony is.
Very interesting. Well, Elizabeth, we are going to let you go. Court should be resuming fairly shortly, and we know you need to get back to it.
I'm the master of spending the most amount of money and eating the least. So, I mean, yeah, I'm done. Yeah, that's it. I'm done. Ate the chicken. I'm good. This is off to the side. All right, bet. I'm wearing a light color clothes. I didn't want to spill. But I did a good job today. Good. All right, so that's lunch. That was good. We'll keep listening to this. We'll keep listening to this. We're going to keep our eye also on this. We're supposedly in a break for lunch. Okay, so it looked like we didn't read everything. So they did break the jurors for lunch. They did do a couple more evidentiary and exhibit statements or whatever. Let's play this a little bit more, and then I'll get to that. I don't think they're officially back yet. Okay, so they're still not back yet. And maybe lunch is going to be a little bit longer because the judge is still in, the judge takes lunch too. The judge dealt with a few more issues after they dismissed the jury. But once the jury is out, that means Cassie's out, then the lawyers were like, hey, judge, just let you know A, B, C, and D, okay? Let me keep playing this, and I'm going to start looking over donations and everything that you guys have done, whether it's memberships, gifted subs on Kick. Shout out to all my people on Rumble, and, of course, any memberships on King Akademiks, the Academy, or donations, all right?
Thanks so much. It's been great talking with you. We will let you get back to work. Elizabeth Milner, have a great afternoon.
Thank you.
All right, we are going to get back to your questions with our panel. We have some great guests here. Melba Pearson is a former prosecutor based down in Florida, and Tyler Bailey is a criminal defense attorney in South Carolina. So guys, first of all, before we get to more of the questions from our viewers, and they're sending in some really good ones, Melba, just some thoughts on what Elizabeth had to say.
Again, just continuing with the heartbreaking nature of all of this, because, much like Elizabeth, I was a huge Diddy fan back in the day. This is a couple that we followed on socials. And again, you had that glamorous image and you really thought that this was, a great couple. And then, okay, they broke up, whatever. No clue the horrors that were going on behind closed doors, and everything that she endured is just, it's just gut-wrenching. And it also kind of makes us kind of, I guess as fans, feel guilty that, wait a minute, we were supporting this monster all along. I mean, I think folks kind of felt the same way in the wake of R. Kelly and all of those allegations coming out and then his eventual criminal conviction. But I think it's just, again, it's a gut check in terms of worshiping celebrity and sort of like who you follow and what the real story is, and the fact that they are human and subject to all the human frailties, both good, bad, and indifferent.
Yeah, I think this is a good reminder that no matter what you
My girl
see,
dog
these
trying to get
pictures
in
on
here.
social media, Tyler, whether you think Sean Combs is actually guilty of a federal crime, you never know what is going on behind closed doors. And obviously, you know, it's very evident there was domestic violence here.
Yeah, and you know what I found really interesting about what Elizabeth just told us was the lack of emotion that she could see from the jurors. You know, we
Because-
know about Mr. Combs and these allegations, and they're hearing this horrendous testimony and live in that courtroom, in that solemn courtroom, by a competent AUSA who's prosecuting this case. And she said she did not see much emotion on the jurors. You know, I don't want to read into that too much, but that could be that the jurors are really doing their job and taking in all evidence and not rushing to an early conclusion, that they could have been aware of what they were going to see and they weren't shocked by what they're seeing and hearing. But it's real early in the case, and we'll see what that means later on.
Yes, we will see. We will see. Let's get to more of your questions now. This one is from Corey Evans. Melba, do you believe this trial warrants the government spending millions of dollars solely to arrest him for participating in a few freak-offs? I think the government would say it's more than a few freak-offs.
Yeah. I've heard a number of comments around that. And again, let's remember we all have sisters, mothers, aunts, women that we care about. And I think that it is critical that the government, whether it be on the state level or the federal level, takes these types of cases seriously. Because again, it's not just about a couple freak-offs. It's about the fact that someone was brutalized and forced against their will to go different places and perform sex acts. That's not okay. So yeah.
All right. By the way, thank you for that donation. It reminded me to unmute. Okay, let me go through. I'm gonna go through all you guys' donations. Thank you guys so much. Tanya Vicente. Am I saying your name right? I think I am. Vincente. I think you're Canadian. It says, keep that McDonald's coffee flowing. She's the new Hennessy. Yeah, it's, obviously, I'm still balancing a little bit both alcohol and the coffee, but the coffee does wonders for me in really getting shit going and getting to like the stuff that we care about here. If it's a crash out day, y'all could just say, fuck the coffee. Let's get on some Hennessy or something like that. But I appreciate you guys really encouraging my new use of, it's black coffee. It's just straight black. I still got a little bit left. And this is my first cup today too. So I don't know if you shouldn't drink too much coffee, but it's only my first cup. It's cold, but I still drink it. It don't taste good, but it gets the job done. Buzzer Beater Clips, thank you for the 2. It says, Diddy parties were demonic rituals. Shaking my head. Lady Shan, thank you for the 2. It says, let's go. How didn't she get pregnant? Ooh, we haven't spoken about that. Whether she was taking Plan Bs after the freak-offs, or she on birth control? What type of birth control? That's a really good point you're making. But also, I'm wondering, in preparation for this case, does the prosecutors talk to her and say, hey, this is super invasive. I get it. You're going to be testifying to some things that you probably don't even want to recount. There's 2 things I think they've left out. Birth control, number 1. Did she ever have an abortion because she got pregnant in a freak-off? Now, those things, I ain't going to lie to you. If she ever came out and said, yeah, after having 3 freak-offs with 12 dudes, I got pregnant. Sean forced me to get an abortion because he didn't know who the father would be. That would hit, right? We haven't heard anything about pregnancy. Haven't heard anything about birth control. And that could be for her own protection. Hold on, I still got food in my mouth. That could be for her own, privacy and protection. Also, what we haven't heard about is, she's mentioned certain, she's mentioned UTIs, but she hasn't mentioned too much about maybe a doctor visit, clinic visit, because of some of the diseases that may have been caught during. You got to imagine, this is not a normal sexual behavior activity, and with the frequency, you got to imagine from time to time there's going to be some STDs up in there. We're not getting too much questions about STDs. Actually, they kept it really light. I think the majority of women, and chat queens, y'all could tell me if I'm incorrect or not, the majority of women at one point in their life may have experienced a UTI or maybe like yeast infection. Those are kind of like lighter on the scale. Now, if she's saying, yo, I caught gonorrhea, chlamydia, this motherfucker gave me that herp, like that would be more significant. And I'm not saying that never happened, but I'm wondering if in prepping her for the trial, she's like, hey, listen, I know I'm trying to testify for you guys, but I don't want to publicize some of the things about my sexual history and maybe things that maybe I'm infected with for life. Or I don't want to talk about my birth control status, given the fact that now I have kids and my husband, is watching, right? But thank you for that donation, Lady Shan. She also said, Lady Shan says, could I be a chat queen mod? The Discord is popping. I would like to know, if you go to the courthouse, would you be allowed in? So the way I've heard, I'll make you a mod right now, actually. By the way, anybody I make mods chat, y'all watch their behavior, because I'm only seeing like donations and shit. Okay, so the way it works at the courthouse is that there is line for people with media credentials. There's a line for family, and actually those people, I think they're dealing with someone there, so they show up early and through a different entrance, whatever. And then there is a general line for interested parties. I hear that line is very long. I hear people are getting on the line super early in the morning. You could pay them to like take their spot in the line. And for people who are influencers or whatever, if you really want to get in, you might have to pay a couple $100, but you might be able to get in there because somebody will be online to be like, oh shit, and you just take their spot. So it's not necessarily are you allowed or you're not. It's just so many people want to get up in a courtroom and there's only so much space. So again, if you're a credentialed media member, there's a certain amount of space for you. And if that doesn't fit, you're going to be like an interested party. And if not, you have attorneys and also court officials. There's a lot of, and then family of the accused, family of, or people, I guess the victims also are going to have some type of space or some type of accommodation for them, and also witnesses that are testifying. So again, I think if I did go, I would just have to go really early, or I'd have to pay someone off online to really make sure I got in there. Billo, thank you for the 20. He says, yo, look up the Mann Act. This is why the diddler is done. Yeah, we'll look that up. Yeah, the Mann Act is, it's interesting. I could tell where y'all be getting y'all information from. Y'all get a lot of y'all information from like certain sources, because the Mann Act is not new. The Mann Act is where, it's kind of where sex trafficking is the sex trafficking statute is born off of. Okay, so if you look about the Mann Act, which is colloquially known as the White Slave Labor Act, it was enacted years ago, and I've heard many people like talk about it like incorrectly. I'll play a video real quick, maybe a shorter video. Here we go.
Outside the ivory towers of universities, Americans faced a rising chorus of voices that also threatened to reshape traditional values. 8.8 million immigrants crowded.
By the way, it's an act. It's a thing that got signed in 1910. It's the basis of a lot of trafficking laws that further came along. So it was the idea behind it, and I'll let them say it too. Is my baby still back there? It was to address prostitution and anything where people were using, that's why it's called the White Slave Labor Act or whatever, where people were moving around people across the United States, and it wasn't necessarily for sex trafficking. It was for people who were trying to still in an illicit way try to get free labor or labor under duress or slave labor from people. Now that boils down into a lot of different little, capillaries and shit like that. And, people most know the act for, you know, people thought because it was called the White Slave Labor Act, it was supposedly enacted to try to prevent whites from trying to continue to do slavery after slavery was abolished. It then was used most notably on a black entertainer who they felt had a lot of girls or whatever the case is, and I'll play that.
Into American cities in the first decade of the 20th century alone.
There was a lot of tension in the air, but the flashpoint turned on sexuality and particularly prostitution. Mainstream Protestant America thought it was a phenomenon that was caused by those wicked foreigners in those cesspools of cities into which our young girls are now going.
In 1907, the crusading McClure's magazine.
By the way, if you're wondering why we're playing this again, we're on a break still. This is the basis of the sex trafficking laws and really human trafficking laws that exist in the United States. Okay? There was a time during the United States that they realized that people were popularizing not only sex trafficking, but human trafficking in roundabout ways to get around certain laws. And it was clearly done in an illegal way, but there was nothing on the books to kind of criminalize it. And obviously, they put something on the books, which was this.
Published a story about an association of Russian Jews purportedly supplying Chicago brothels with new personnel. When a city prosecutor claimed that those prostitutes were, in effect, white slaves, a wave of hysteria gripped the country.
There was all sorts of lurid stories. Women were being hit by poison darts on the trolleys. They were being lured away from, imagine, ice cream parlors. It created a tremendous...
Okay, somebody says Tory Lanez, Fox 11. Apparently there's a Tory Lanez... Let's hear this. Okay. We'll keep this in the background. There's going to be a Tory Lanez press conference shortly. Let's keep learning about that Mann Act. Then we're going to go to Tory Lanez trial. Then we go right back to Cassie Ventura, and she'll be back on the stand shortly, okay?
Tremendous hullabaloo because people believe this. One of the interesting things
to break through.
Okay, this video's boring as shit. Like, come on, make it simple, bro. Make it simple, make it updated. So, R. Kelly, one of the reasons R. Kelly got convicted is because of the Mann Act. Remember, the Mann Act is going to be the background and the basis of all sex trafficking situations, right? Maybe this guy explains it better.
Missing persons cases, particularly if the missing person is young and female. Sex trafficking. The exact origin seems to be debatable, but over the years, the definition has become better understood by the general public. Wikipedia states that sex traffickers use force, fraud, and coercion as they recruit, transport, and provide their victims as prostitutes.
Tory thing didn't start yet.
Every aspect of sex trafficking is considered a crime, from acquisition to transportation and exploitation of victims. Critics state that the definition is too broad in general, and maybe today's episode supports that conclusion in some way. One of the least understood aspects about sex trafficking is that it doesn't have to involve some large-scale criminal ring that you might imagine in a Liam Neeson film. It can be one person using control tactics against another, those usually involving money, drugs, family obligations, or even love. That certainly broadens.
Wow. That just, and by the way, this was a year ago this person did this video. That just explained exactly why Diddy's charged with sex trafficking. Remember, just to let you know, the Mann Act is the basis of pretty much sex trafficking laws that came after.
It's not only the scope of how a lawmaker may try to protect these victims, but it also broadens how a law of that nature could be misused, leaving an unintended criminal impact in its wake. I'm John Lorden, and today we're discussing the Mann Act. Should legislation designed to help combat sex trafficking really be called that? Well, it's actually Mann with two N's. It was named after James Robert Mann, who served the state of Illinois in the House of Representatives from 1911 until his death on November 30th, 1922. He penned the legislation, which, believe it or not, actually had an even more questionable name at the time. It was known then as the White Slave Act of 1910. the intent of this legislation was much better thought out than the naming. It was meant to put a stop to the kidnapping of women, to enslave them as prostitutes. Man had heard stories of numerous women who were forced to emigrate to the United States, where they were put to work in Chicago brothels. At the time, brothels had become very commonplace in Chicago. The mayor, Fred Bussey, seemed to have a very light touch when it came to law enforcement related to gambling houses and prostitution. As a matter of fact, one brothel even offered coupons on election night if Bussey won the mayorship. Publicly, Bussey's only defense was that Chicago wasn't facing any problems that other big cities didn't face. A poor excuse, but not entirely untrue.
Okay,
Most major cities in America at that time.
Okay, so he's going through a long-winded thing. I mean, you guys get it. I think you guys get it. If I show y'all a video, again, I like to be thorough, and I know time is of the essence in everything we're doing. So I'm going to suggest you guys watch these videos by yourself to completely understand this idea of sex trafficking. You should understand or try to understand this idea of the Mann Act. And I'll just read it from Wikipedia. It was previously called and by the way, we're still waiting for the Tory thing, don't worry. The White Slave Act of 1910. It was then renamed to the Mann Act because of the person who really pushed for it, which was James Robert Mann. In its original form, it made it a felony to engage in interstate or foreign commerce of transport of any woman or girl for the purpose of prostitution or debauchery. Now, the interesting thing about this law is that the thing says debauchery. Debauchery could mean, yo, you flew a girl out for a threesome. Like, that's debauchery. You get what I'm saying? You could debauchery, excessive indulgence in sexual pleasures, scandalous, immoral. So once debauchery talks about immoral activities, it depends what people call immoral, right? And that's the thing about this law that's interesting, because Diddy's acts would be seen as immoral because public status quo is not to have your girl getting fucked by dozens of sex workers. You get what I'm saying? So it's, obviously he wasn't transporting Cassie for prostitution, but was he transporting her to indulge in these acts of debauchery? Yeah. Or for any other immoral purpose. And that's another open-ended thing that makes this act. This is why they created much more laws to kind of narrow it down. Because what's immoral now wasn't immoral then. Or what's immoral then isn't immoral now. For example, in 1910s, in the early 19th century in U.S. culture, go look it up. It was seen as somewhat of an immoral act to do oral sex. That was an immoral act, right? It was almost seen along the lines of sodomy. Now it's seen as normal. So things and statuses and what's seen as, as time goes on, I've always said, things progressively get worse because we live in a progressive society. So what we accept way more as time goes on than we ever accepted before. It never turns where we're going to accept less. And obviously people fight for that, but it never really works. So this is now turned to, because there's a bunch of laws that came afterwards, people have now kind of like realized these other two purposes, immoral and debauchery, they're too open-ended. They're like, yo, this is supposed to address prostitution. And I know it says immorality, but it's going to be what's considered at the time for that administration and that Department of Justice and that DA, district attorney, and that constituent in terms of immorality. But it's the backing for human trafficking, particularly where trafficking was used for the purposes of prostitution. Now, it was one of the several acts and protective legislation that was done at the moral reform era during the progressive era, okay? In its practice, its ambiguous language about immorality resulted, and this is the point that I'm also trying to point out. This is why it's so confusing with sex trafficking laws. In the state of Nevada, outside of Clark County, I believe. Is it Clark or Harris County? I think it's Clark County. Harris is in Texas. That's where Houston is. Clark County. That's where Nevada is, right? Let me just make sure. Clark County, Nevada. Yeah, that's where Las Vegas is at. So pretty much, and I think there might be another county. Pretty much the rest of Las Vegas, prostitution is legal. So think about how this, and this is why the Supreme Court operates and have to operate a lot. So prostitution is legal in Nevada, outside of Las Vegas in that county. However, federally, it's illegal to transport somebody for the purpose of prostitution. You see how those two things might clash? There's many brothels in Las Vegas, not in Las Vegas, in Nevada. So they have legalized prostitution in Nevada in many places. But federally, it's kind of like Jersey allows weed, federally weed ain't allowed. Federal authorities step down when the state up on that's their choice. They're like, all right, Jersey, y'all made a choice, we ain't gonna fuck with y'all, but it's still not federally allowed. And they would charge someone if someone brought weed from, say, Florida, where it's illegal. If they brought 2,000 pounds and flew it to Jersey via a private jet, you're still going to get a marijuana charge, right? Because the feds are going to always supersede the state, and they're not trying to step on the state's toes, but it involves two states, one where it's illegal, one where it's legal. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that this is why the sex trafficking shit is kind of really complicated. So this Mann Act is the basis of everything. It uses some random, this was 1910. Yo, you see how these bitches be acting now? You think, put Sexy Red in 1910. They would look at her like she dropped from space. So immorality in 1910 versus immorality in 2025 is two different things. It's 100 years later. So that became vague. So they started making more and more laws to kind of really lock this down. Okay, all right. So in 19th century, many of American cities had designated legally protected areas of prostitution. But what happened is that people would bring in illegal aliens and other people from outside those regions to come to those regions. In changing blah, blah, okay, I don't want to read the whole thing. Also, what happened around that time, because you got to know a little bit of history to realize why law gets enacted, right? For example, there was a protect Asian people law. Further in the future, we're going to be like, why the fuck was that? So you got to understand history. There was a time where Asian people were getting attacked, right? So laws sometimes matter based on what was going on at the time. There was a bunch of missing persons cases popping up with young women who supposedly were sex trafficked. And that became a thing that people felt was tearing down the moral fiber of the country, and people wanted to make a law about it. Okay, so cool. These are notable prosecutions. The first person was Bella Moore, convicted. Jack Johnson, he was the most famous case. He was convicted. He was a popular boxer, and he was arrested twice. Apparently, and this was the popular example, they used to say, I'll read a little bit about it. Wait, hold on. Essentially, he got arrested for just having a bunch of chicks, bro. You get what I'm saying? He got pardoned later, but that's why people always look at the basis of sex trafficking laws to say it's rooted in some things that might also prejudice, right? That might also prejudice against skin color, because Jack Johnson was a black boxer that was incredibly popular. So when you see later sex trafficking get used against black men, for example, R. Kelly or a Diddy, sometimes they question this act once again. Now, granted, you see? So Sean Combs, and you're going to see R. Kelly somewhere. These are notable ones, I think. Is R. Kelly in here? Yep, R. Kelly. R. Kelly. They got Charles Manson. And by the way, look what they said about R. Kelly. Oh, they didn't really. He's accused of violation of the Mann Act. That's one of the 3 charges, at least before the superseding. I think he has 5. Is it 5? No, I think it's still 3. Pause. I was almost said tree. All right, we're waiting on this Tory thing, man. This thing's taking forever to come. Pause. Let me put it on the main screen and let's see if we could get any audio. Now, I do have some info on what I believe is going to be told in this press conference. I've heard that there will be an announcement that somehow revolve around some new information, but it's new information that I believe I think the government, or not government, well, I guess the government, the prosecutors are going to put out a statement via TMZ today, or they're going to do some type of blast or press release, since they're doing a press release, basically to say, hey, listen, we considered this already. So it appears that, the bodyguard that was the only sober person that night, it appears that there's something with him, and something came out about him, and it was said, or there's some way they're pointing the finger at Kelsey, and it was supposed like, it's Kelsey. And I don't know what that means for appeals, because I'm always being honest now. I do love Tory. And by the way, get well, Tory. The way how this is done is that legally they're trying to hold Tory Lanez accountable for not putting the bodyguard on the stand. There was a moment the bodyguard showed up at the end of the trial. He was missing. His name is Jaquan or something. He was missing the entire time. He showed up at the end of the trial. They brought that up. The prosecutor said, you could bring him to testify on your behalf. By the way, he only popped up after Sean Kelly, who was supposed to be on Tory's side, switched sides to the prosecutor. So the driver finally shows up. The prosecutor says, we haven't been able to talk to this guy. He could testify, but remember, the trial ended like a few days before Christmas. They said, we're going to have to continue this case after Christmas. Some people feel that Tory was in a rush to get home or thought his case was strong enough. They made the decision to not delay the trial to get the bodyguard up and to go forward without it, and they rested their case. Because of that, the decision was made. So here's the thing. They're fighting a battle of, they can't go back later and be like, oh no, we want him to testify. They're saying, we gave you the chance. You said no. Now, here's the silver lining. If there is new material information that this guy supposedly has that could exonerate hhim, that is grounds for the appeal. But it's not grounds for an appeal that he didn't testify when you were offered to delay the trial a little bit, that the prosecutors could prepare to get him to testify. So that's what we're going to see. Look like it's getting closer. It's getting closer to starting. See someone with a free Tory shirt over there? It's getting closer to starting, people, but I don't know. By the way, this is Tory's father you see on the left.
Where will we be able to?
That's Sunstar. Tory's name is Daystar, and we have Sunstar, both Petersons. They're about to get started any minute. They'll probably address the stabbing as well.
Let's get started. About 10 minutes. Lawyers, we have to grab some papers from the court.
Now, we just heard someone say about 10 minutes. Now, while we wait for this, have y'all seen this? There's a woman who came out, and don't know why she is so anti-Tory, but she got online and started telling the story, and she said, listen to this.
Not free Tory. Keep him locked up. Keep him locked up.
I will tell you about this one celebrity because it's not something I'm proud of. I just want to tell you a story, okay? So, this celebrity slid in my DMs and was like, it was Thursday night. I need you all to understand it was Thursday night. Thursday night, he's like, hey, I want you to, I live like 100 miles away from LA. He was like, yo, tomorrow, no, he was like, Friday night, I'm having this party. I want you to come through. I'm going to pay you to come through. And I'm like, pay me for what? He was like, I just want you to come be in this music video. I'm finna shoot. I'm finna see him the concept. So I was like, okay, how much you paying? And he was like, I'm paying this much. And I'm like, I'm telling my people in the house, I'm like, I'm not doing this because of who he is, okay? I'm going to tell you who it is, but I have to tell the story in this order, okay? Not free Tory. Keep him locked up. For you to figure out who it is. So Thursday night, he DMs me, you need to come to this party. And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to pass. I'm not really your biggest fan right now. That's what I said to him. Something of that effect. I was like, yeah, I'm not really your biggest fan right now. I pass.
Do y'all know her? I'm not too sure who she is.
He was like, oh man, this going to be live on Friday. You going to miss out, yada, yada, yada. Cool. Friday happens. I'm watching the TV. I want to say it was December 20th. And it was like, you're guilty. And he goes to jail. His name was Tory Lanez. I was like, damn, that nigga was so cocky. He was planning a party. For that night. That nigga went to jail. I was laughing. I laughed. Because you know how cocky you have to be to plan a party for the day that you go to court for you to figure out who it is. Sport. Like, that man knew that man thought he had it in the bag. And I'm not free Tory. Keep him locked up. You sound slow. I don't care what I sound. Tory's locked up. He's in jail. I want y'all to know, y'all can keep saying free him. It ain't gonna get him free. You can go outside and yell it. You can yell it until you don't got no oxygen left. It won't make him any freer. That man is still locked up. You could say he free until you blue in the face. He's still gonna be in prison. Still in prison. You can say it right now. Say free Tory Lanez one more time. Free Tory, still in prison. Didn't work. It didn't work. No matter how many times y'all say it, it's not working. Why it's not working? Free Tory, still locked up. Free Tory, still locked up. Free Tory, still locked up. He's still locked up. Y'all gonna keep saying it. Free Tory, still locked up. Free Tory, still in court. Like, that man. Damn. Locked up. Free Tory, still locked up. Megan Thee Stallion ain't. What Tory Lanez doing? Let's call him and find out. Let's call the prison and find out what Tory Lanez do. You think he mopping the floors? What you think, he in the yard? You think he in the yard right now? His music good? Nah, I don't listen to that shit. Locked up, free Tory still.
Oh, damn. So much hate, huh? So much hate. I don't know who she is, but apparently she's saying that Tory was planning a party. Yeah, I think Tory, which I think most people would be hoping that they would be beating it, you know? Like, she's trying to penalize him for Tory having some faith that the justice system will work in his favor. I can't.
If you were paying
I can't get down with that. All right, we're still waiting on this. I'm wondering if we should just get right back into the trial at this point. Let me see. How far are we with this? Still waiting. Still waiting. Still waiting, y'all. I'm pretty sure. I think they've started back. Let me see. Have they? Have they started back yet? Okay. No, they haven't started back yet. I think Cassie's direct is going to go until tomorrow. Or they might extend today just to finish her up with direct that tomorrow's all about the cross. We'll see. All right, we're waiting on this Tory Lanez. press conference. What do y'all think, though, chat? Like, you know, whoever that person was that made that video, you know, I think it's sad. We heard the news of Torin getting stabbed yesterday, and I saw a lot of people. They were like, yeah. I guess they were trolling Tory. They were like, yeah, nigga, let's see the wounds now. Let's see the bones and the tendons now, nigga. Let's see your wounds. And I guess they were trolling to say, well, that's what you said about Meg, so now let's see it about you. Do y'all think that's fair game, or do y'all think that, you know, I don't know, man. Like, this is like the one situation that I feel like has divided so many men and women. Like, for a lot of women, when they see men saying, yo, damn, free Tory, like, we don't really believe it, they're like, oh, you're anti-woman. And I think when people see women just defending Meg blindly, or not blindly, but just defending Meg because they sympathize with her or they believe her, people look at them and be like, yo, you probably one of them type of chicks to go lie on a dude. So it's a very divisive thing. It's probably one of the most divisive thing, other than like the Kendrick and Drake shit, in hip hop. The Tory Lanez and Meg Thee Stallion situation, it definitely divided genders, 100%. Okay, we're starting to see some more people. Okay, here we go.
All right, everybody. First off, my name is Caesar McDowell. I am the CEO and co-founder of Unite the People. We're a nonprofit organization that promotes social justice as well as provides affordable legal services for the underserved community here in the state of California. Today, we want to thank everybody for coming out, all of the press, all of the fans, everyone that's here today. We want to say thank you for coming. Today, we're going to hear some really, really compelling new evidence that you've never heard before. Our legal team will explain all of that to you. We will have updates on Tory Lanez, Mr. Peterson, on how he's doing. It's really sad to see the situation that he's in, and we think it's time. Enough is enough. It's time to bring the brother home. So with that, I would like to bring up our lead consultant, Mr. Walter Roberts.
Good morning. We are here today to bring to your attention some information Unite the People believes is exculpatory in Mr. Daystar Peterson's case, professionally known as Tory Lanez. Recently, we've been made aware that a member of the media, Mr. Gianno Caldwell, was working on an op-ed for the New York Post regarding Mr. Peterson's innocence. During his work on that op-ed, he became aware of some information in Unite the People's possession regarding a statement that was given to Unite the People by someone with information relevant to that case. The New York Post recently reached out to the prior district attorney, George Gascon, Megan Pete and her representatives, and Kelsey Harris and her representatives. The only party that responded last week was Megan Pete's representatives with a request for more information. A few days later, Mr. Peterson's brutally attacked in his jail cell. Unite the People represents Daystar Peterson in his appellate process. We filed an appellate brief and a writ of habeas corpus on his behalf. The district attorney's office has already responded. The case is fully briefed. We're just waiting for the appellate court's decision. We were willing to wait for the appellate process to play out, but given that brutal, unprovoked attack, we felt it necessary to come here today to provide you with this information. It is our intention to make a request to the governor to either pardon or commute the sentence of Mr. Peterson. so that when he recovers from this attack, he's not returned to a jail cell, but that he's allowed to go home and recover. Not long ago, Unite the People was approached by a gentleman named Bradley James. Mr. James informed us he was working as the bodyguard and driver for Ms. Kelsey Harris during Mr. Peterson's trial. As such, he was in close proximity and he had privy to conversations she was having with her husband and others. Mr. James informed us he was not under a non-disclosure agreement or a confidentiality agreement and was free to speak with Unite the People, and that he was doing it because his conscience would not let him not speak and leave a man in prison for something he did not do. Mr. James informed Unite the People that he was witness to the conversation Ms. Harris had, where she stated she had the gun, she fired it 3 times, Mr. Peterson grabbed her arm and knocked it down, and the gun fired 2 more times. In essence, Mr. Peterson never shot anybody, never even touched that gun, never fired the gun. This statement aligns with the statement of the only non-party witness to the case, Mr. Sean Kelly, who at trial testified he saw 2 women fighting, 2 men break up the fight, 1 man grabbed the other one's arm. Gunshots came from the passenger side. The passenger side is where Ms. Harris was sitting. This further iterates that Mr. Peterson did not shoot Miss Pete, did not shoot at Miss Pete, or did not assault Miss Pete. It's just another irregularity in a list of irregularities in this case. For example, there were 3 potential suspects in the car that night, and yet the only DNA sample was taken of Mr. Peterson, even though unknown DNA was found on the gun. Why wasn't Miss Harris's DNA?
It was 2 suspects because Meg can't be a suspect for herself.
Why wasn't the driver of the car, Mr. Jaquan Smith's DNA taken? Or was it taken, and again, simply not given to the defense? We don't know. It should have been taken. It is Unite the People's understanding, regular LAPD practice at a crime scene like that, anybody who's there, the DNA is taken. Another irregularity. Why, at Ms. Harris's police interview, was a non-lawyer, non-family member record company executive allowed to participate? Highly irregular situation. Normally, we see cases, strangers are not allowed in these things, but it was in this case. All of these things point to the highly irregular nature of his trial and his conviction. It is our contention that he was wrongly convicted. And while we at first were willing to let the process play out, it is our contention now that if he is not pardoned or released promptly, he may never come out. And that would be the ultimate injustice, is that he gets killed in prison for something he did not do. At this time, I'd like to bring up Mr. Gianno Caldwell, media member who was working on that op-ed for the New York Post. Thank you.
Thank you, Walter. Good morning. Thank you for coming today. My name is Gianno Caldwell. That is spelled G-I-A-N-N-O, Caldwell, C-A-L-D-W-E-L-L. I am the founder of the Caldwell Institute for Public Safety at caldwellinstitute.org. I am also a member of the press for almost a decade now. I've been looking into Daystar Peterson's case for almost 6 months now, professionally known as Tory Lanez. And after reviewing the evidence, the reporting, and the legal analysis, I've come to the conclusion that Tory Lanez was railroaded by the former district attorney, George Gascon. He was also wrongly convicted. I believe if Jesus Christ was Tory Lanez's attorney, George Gascon would do whatever in his power to ensure that Tory Lanez lost that case. Tory Lanez's defense team have alleged the withholding of exculpatory evidence, prosecutorial misconduct, among other issues that I was compelled to write an opinion piece for the New York Post. It is true that last week, the New York Post editors reached out to 3 parties, one being George Gascon, Megan Pete's team, and Kelsey Harris. It is also true that Megan's team was the only ones that responded back for that request for comment. I had some glaring questions, and that was the reason for this op-ed. Things didn't make any sense to me, many issues in this case, and I was shocked by the lack of interest from the media to ask very simple questions. There were multiple people with gunshot residue on their hands that night. Why didn't all individuals have the residue tested, their DNA tested on the weapon? That's a legitimate question. According to the prosecution, Tory was excluded from the clip of the gun, and according to Tory's defense team, they said DNA analysis showed that there was a 0.01% chance that Tory touched the actual gun itself. Another piece that stood out to me, the call that the prosecution alleged Tory made confessing to a crime. I listened to that call. I'm sure many of you have as well. I didn't hear a confession. But what really shocked me about it is if my best friend was shot maliciously by someone just 2 to 3 hours before, I wouldn't have answered the call, or if I did, I wouldn't calmly have a conversation with the individual of it. And certainly I would ask, why did you shoot my friend? And more importantly, I would never have given you my current location out of fear of you finishing the job. That was something that stood out to me. I also, in my op-ed, discussed Kelsey Harris pleading the Fifth Amendment. She wasn't accused of anything by Megan Pete or the police, and to my knowledge, she wasn't under any investigation. So why plead the Fifth? What also shocked me is the prosecution gave her immunity. For what? What did she do? Is there an allegation of her doing something? I'm not aware of that. Maybe some of you can answer that question today. During the time of trial, George Gascon, just to take you back to where we were at that particular point, he had just barely won a recall attempt. He lost support in many key demographics of voters. Crime was up in Los Angeles County. And this case would have been a silver bullet for him potentially winning. His policies obviously were bad and people were harmed. So that didn't happen, and thank God it didn't happen. At the heart of this injustice is the misuse of gun enhancement charges, a sentencing tool intended for the most dangerous and violent offenders. In Tory Lane's case, these enhancements were not supported by evidence. But George Gascon, interestingly enough, who is someone who regularly would drop enhancements or not recommend them, chose to provide enhancements to Tory. And in his case, in any given situation, according to legal analysts I've spoken with, he would do 1 or 3 years if he did it without the enhancement. That's interesting. Why did George Gascon choose to pursue these enhancements? You know, there's cases I've been looking through which George Gascon has pursued, many in which he utilized these enhancements. A couple come to mind that I would like to reference here. One, Raymond Danger Gonzalez, a Mexican mafia gang member involved in a premeditated murder of 2 young men in 2017. Despite the brutality of the crime, Gascon didn't recommend enhancements. You premeditated murdered a teenager and another individual, brutal crime. Why would you recommend enhancements, but you would recommend them for Tory? That doesn't make a lot of sense. He also didn't pursue sentencing enhancements for the senseless murder of General Hospital actor Johnny Victor in Los Angeles in 2024. There's a lot of issues with this case. Many I think that the media should be pursuing all angles of it. We should not allow there to be unanswered questions. We should pursue open questions without fear or favor to anyone. That includes Mr. Tory Lanez. In his letter from the Birmingham jail, Dr. Martin Luther King wrote, "Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere."
Cut one channel.
If we take those words seriously, we must act when injustice is allowed to fester in plain sight. I founded the Caldwell Institute for Public Safety after my innocent teenage brother was murdered in Chicago on June 24, 2022. I stand firmly for public safety, for victims' rights, and for holding criminals accountable. But justice also demands that we protect the innocent and stand against politically motivated prosecutions. This is what I believe to happen here. When we imprison the innocent while violent offenders walk free, which is what George Gascon has often done, we undermine the very foundation of our legal system. Mr. Peterson was never given a fair trial, free from bias, political interference, and media-driven pressure. His continued incarceration erodes public trust and diverts focus from the real work of keeping our community safe. Further, while incarcerated, Mr. Peterson was recently stabbed in prison, as many of you know, a tragic incident that underscores the urgency of this situation and the risk to his life while this case remains unaddressed. Governor Newsom, I respectfully urge you to issue a pardon for Daystar Peterson, known as Tory Lanez, in a full and impartial review of his case. California must not be a state where justice is driven by headlines instead of evidence. And in the case of George Gascon, that was often the case. So I encourage everyone here to go to caldwellinstitute.org, CALDWELL, Institute, INSTITUTE.org, and sign the petition. This petition asks for the governor to pardon Tory Lanez. Thank you.
Good morning. Thank you all for being here. I know there's a lot of noise in the media going on with other stories, but I think that this is one of the most important stories happening right now today regarding our Justice Department. My name is Diana London. I'm the CEO of the Secret Weapon Agency, which is a crisis communication firm, and I'm also the CEO of a company called London Global Strategies. I am a member of the media as well. I'm a commentator on a few networks, and I also serve as an advisor for Giano's Institute and also another company called Promising People that is fighting to reduce the recidivism rate in this country and also to correct our criminal justice laws. As a woman who has worked in Congress on criminal justice reform, I deeply believe in law and order. I've worked alongside law enforcement. I've drafted policy to reduce violent crime. I've seen what accountability should look like. But I also know the legal system without integrity is no justice at all. When we get it wrong, when our courts fail the people they're meant to protect, we don't just ruin lives, we erode trust in the rule of law itself. That's why I'm speaking out today for Daystar Peterson, better known to the world as Tory Lanez. This isn't about fame. It isn't about celebrity. It's about fairness. Tory Lanez doesn't want special treatment. He's demanding equal treatment. And if we Americans still believe in a system where guilty must be proven beyond a reasonable doubt, then we must admit this case raises serious concerns. Because the truth is, Tory Lanez is serving a 10-year sentence for a crime that evidence, which laid out here today, overwhelmingly suggests he did not commit. Let's go back to the night in question, just like Gianna was just talking about in the attorneys. As the attorneys laid out here today, the prosecution failed to produce a single shred of forensic evidence tying Tory to the actual gun. His fingerprints weren't on it. His DNA was later found to be 100% nearly excluded from the gun, as shown in the worksheet that was provided to the defense late on the eve of the actual trial, after making a request for that very document. After trial, looking at this evidence, there is a 0.01% chance Tory's DNA was on the firearm. That's a difficult statistic to equate with the story as told by the prosecution, which may be why this was not present in trial. In fact, there were 3 people that night at the scene who tested positive for gunshot residues. One of those was Kelsey Harris, as Gianno mentioned, the assistant to Megan Pete. According to multiple sworn testaments that you've heard today, including one from the bodyguard and driver with Harris on the 2 days of the trial, Harris admitted to firing the weapon during an emotional outburst. Tory intervened to de-escalate, not to harm. It is important to note, the police did not fingerprint anyone else who had gunshot residue on them that night, only Tory. Why? Even more troubling, the investigation itself was a disaster. Bullet fragments disappeared, the gun serial number was sealed, a move that blocked the defense from investigating ownership. Police failed to follow standard procedures. Why? Didn't mark shell casings on the road, and didn't test others involved that night with DNA. This wasn't justice. It was a rush to judgment. Worse still, the prosecution knew the case was thin. So what did they do? They tacked on gun enhancements, just like they spoke about. The charges, these gun enhancements are meant for gang shootouts and armed robberies to inflate the charges and turn a flimsy accusation into a decade-long prison sentence. Enhancements are a powerful tool against violent offenders, but using them in a case with no forensic evidence, murky testimony, and a defendant with no criminal history, that's very important to point out. He had no criminal history. That's not justice. That's a political stunt. Let's be blunt. This prosecution had everything to do with headlines and very little to do with truth. It was about symbolism, not substance. And that should concern every single one of you here today and in this country. Because when the facts take a back seat to identity, when due process is sacrificed for public spectacle, we all lose. Just yesterday, a Los Angeles court ruled the Menendez brothers, who brutally murdered their parents, are now eligible for parole after serving 35 years. They admitted to the crime. Tory Lanez, who killed no one and has still remained his innocent today, whose case is riddled with inconsistencies and prosecutorial failures, is expected to serve a decade? How is that justice? I've worked in federal criminal justice policy. I helped pass the First Step Act during President Trump's first term. I've spent years focusing on ending recidivism, building rehabilitation pipelines, and protecting the innocent from institutional overreach. I didn't fight for reform just to see the system weaponized against someone because he's famous or inconvenient. And let's be clear. If a high-profile black man with no prior violent convictions can be railroaded this easily, what hope is it for the everyday American who lacks his resources? Some people may want to dismiss this today as noise. But as a conservative, we are a movement that claims to care about over-criminalization, prosecutorial abuse, and restoring faith in American institutions. Well, here it is, laid bare in front of you. The prosecution manipulated the narrative. They buried key facts. They got the conviction they wanted, but not the truth we all deserve. As Gianno mentioned, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. warned us that injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. And this case proves it. If we let this stand, if we accept a conviction based on emotion rather than evidence, we abandon.
So the Diddy and Cassie situation has been getting freakier and freakier by the day. The more and more I hear about these allegations, Diddy is a freaky man, the king of the freak-offs. And Cassie, you feel me, she was young, vulnerable. But like what Axe said, she could have left. Like Diddy was not holding her. Well, this is what's hard for me. Allegedly, Diddy wasn't holding her hostage, but she said on the video that came out in the hotel where he hit her over and drug her back, she was trying to leave one of the freak offs. And Diddy said, "Oh no, you're not gonna leave the freak offs. You got it. Yeah. Wait till the dude, bust a nut, allegedly, then all over you, then scrape it off, go in the other room and rub it on my nipples." That's what he wanted. It sounds so crazy to say, but that's what Diddy wanted. Like, we seen him in the robe. I thought he was just fresh out the shower, but allegedly he was probably butt naked. I'm surprised there was no baby oil on her or him, or she wiped it off. That's why he was so mad. It was no baby oil on. Hey man, I genuinely feel bad for Cassie. I feel bad for her husband too, because he has to be in court and he's listening to all these things. And I don't really think Cassie's lying about anything. Like, Cassie just seems like a nice girl, probably like gentle, innocent, like, and she just wanted a career. Like, man, I'm struggling here because I want to be very, very honest about everything, like my point of view. I don't think Diddy was the best of best people, and I think everything he did to Cassie was wrong, and it was definitely manipulative and all that stuff. But like, is it sex trafficking though? Like, this is what he's charged for. Like, domestic violence, yes. Assault, yes. Like, probably a bunch of other crazy stuff, yes. But sex trafficking, bro, I don't know if you could say he was sex trafficking. But it's only day 2 of the trial. And I'm gonna be very, very unbiased about every single thing I say. It's day 2 of the trial. Diddy is he's there every day. They say that he's looking white as hell, he's gray as hell. He's, you feel me? They said he was looking at Cassie the whole time. But day 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, we don't know what's gonna happen. Maybe 2 weeks later, there might be someone else taking the stand, and we don't know how that's gonna go. Maybe like 3 days later, there's gonna be a new person taking the stand, and they just expose everything about Diddy. Like, we don't know fully everything Diddy's done yet. Like, there might have been men that he was having free calls with. Like, I ain't gonna lie, bro. Like, Ack was the line about what he said. Diddy should just came out and said that he was a flexible, bro. He should just said he was bisexual, bro. Like, I'm not gonna lie. And what Ack said, bro, all these rappers gotta come out who was around Diddy, like really, really hung around Diddy and was like really cool with him. They need to come out and like, yeah, bro. You gotta defend yourself, your integrity. You feel me? But your boy Big Act News. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. And do you feel like Diddy's innocent, or do you feel like he's guilty? And we're talking about sex trafficking. Like, we're not talking about is he a good person or not. Do you think he's guilty of sex trafficking, Cassie? It's your boy Big Act News, and I'm out.